Hello and welcome to another edition of Speaker Circle. This evening, I am super excited to have Miss Kait Lott of Kait's Cravings. She is a phenomenal food blogger and a dynamic influencer. So welcome, Kate.
Yes, thank you for having me, Lisa. I'm very excited to be here to talk about food. Only a little sad because I'm not eating. Eat a lot, okay?
Um,
But thank
you
you
know,
for having me.
Foundation of life, you have to eat to live, right? So
Period. Yes.
that's great. Well, thank you so much for being here. I am so excited. And just tell our audience, give us a little background because I know you're so passionate about food blogging, but you also make a difference. You're one of my superheroes, and that's people who are in education. So,
Yay. Yeah, so by day, my 9 to 5 is I am a college career and access advisor. So I work with mainly juniors and seniors to essentially help them curate their future. So who do you want to be? Who do you think you are? What does your future life look like? What does that salary look like? How long do you want to study? Do you want to go to college? Is that trade? Is that military, etc. So I get the really fun job of doing a lot of financial aid applications, and really working with young minds, which is really interesting in this time period, because as someone who kind of lives in the middle, being 26, it's just fun to learn from them and see the world through their eyes. And I do work with students that have been underserved, maybe marginalized. Low income, etc. So it's a really good opportunity to invest in the lives of other people. So alongside that, you kind of named it. I do food blogging. I live in the Cincinnati area. I absolutely love to eat and take pictures of my food. I love to talk about food. I love to meet chefs. I love to be involved in the community. And yeah, so much of I just love being around people. So a lot of what I do is I think people work, and that's kind of what um you know like
yeah.
what marries those two communities together. And I also feed the kids when I can, but now with COVID and everything going on, we're doing a little less of that. But yeah.
Not a problem. Well, the food thing is so exciting. But before we do that, thank you for all you're doing, the difference you're making. I grew up I went to an underserved area. I love how you said that. And when you talked about curating people's future, that is so powerful. And I'll never forget my guidance counselor, Miss Norma. I'm sure she's my friend on Facebook, so she may be
Oh
watching.
yeah,
But
yeah.
she literally sat down with all of us and told us, hey, these are all the things you can do, every freaking college application. So I
Yes.
definitely give you lots of respect for that. And the fact that you said where you are, you still could really relate to the
Yes.
students that you work with.
Yes.
And for them to see that you're not just telling me this, but you can understand where I'm going from. So
Yes.
that's really good. It made me think about a charcuterie board, like, okay, this is your future.
No, really. Yeah. And, just exposing them to opportunity, because one thing I will say is I grew up, I would say somewhat affluent, middle class, and I still didn't know that like I could food blog. I didn't know that I could be a scientist at a zoo. I didn't, all these really interesting jobs and opportunities that so many people are partaking in the world around us. And I just love being able to say, like, hey, you're thinking here, there's so much
The
more.
world is so
And
much better, right?
absolutely, like, as cliche as it sounds, it really, really is. So,
Really
yeah.
true. It is true. So what started your passion as food? Like, did you all grow up eating a lot of diverse foods, or how did you start having such a advanced palate, I should say?
Oh, well, I actually, so growing up, I had just weight fluctuations, a lot. Like, I dealt with many a weight issue, learning how to eat, learning what like the function of food really was for our bodies. And even as an adult, understanding that even as we eat, it all aligns with like purpose and God's plan for our life, and it's fuel. So while we did grow up eating a lot of different foods, I mean, I have friends from multiple different cultural backgrounds. My dad loved to cook. He's, very, very into food. Um, and experimenting with different flavors and whatnot. I think more so the passion with food in this time of my life has more so to do with I really want to interact with food and drinks in a way that like shifts the focus and perspective on the world around me. So
Ah,
food brings us together for religious gatherings, for birthdays, for celebrations, for learning opportunities, for networking. You meet people over coffee, and you can do that now while giving small businesses free marketing. So,
mm,
there's so like food is so dynamic, and I just love that. So I think I had a little bit of a basis of learning and tasting different foods growing up, but now more so aside from taste, it's more about like, hey, like look at the things that we can create through food, relationships, content,
yes.
flavor palettes. Like we can, connect wine tastings. Like I like, as a young person, you think drinking is about getting drunk. And now I'm like, oh, your wine or your drink is actually supposed to heighten your flavor palette. And it's supposed to like change the way you eat the meal and the flavors you experience. So I think so many of us are so naive to like food experiences. And that's what I'm loving right now. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna
yeah,
say because I saw like some of your posts, which please make sure if you're not following Kate, check her out on IG. It's Kate's Cravings, and then her website is katescravings.com. I love how you pair different wines and show, to your point, how the flavor can pop
yes.
that. So, how did you take like a I forgot what it's called, like a sommelier, like a class where you learn?
Somalia, yes. So I have
What
not
is it?
taken a
What is it
sommelier
called?
class. Sommelier, which my friend Savannah has the funniest joke. Anytime she goes to a wine bar, she's like, "Can I see the bigger yay?" Instead of the
Oh,
sommelier. But so funny. But no, I
that's a good way to
actually,
remember how to say it. So the
yeah,
sommelier.
like small.
Okay.
No, so I actually am a Wink ambassador, and Wink is a like monthly wine subscription that you can get. You can just order a box, or you can like sign up for a monthly subscription. But with every wine you order, they give you like they email you a personalized like recipe list that goes with the wine that you ordered.
And that's a
So
okay.
yeah, it's so cool because I'm like this marries both of my worlds. I'm like, as an adult, I just always kind of want to be like, ooh, like I'm gonna sit with my friends, I'm gonna have my glass of wine, we're gonna talk about things. But now with the food world, it's just really exciting because I'm like, okay, if I have a Cabernet and it's got those red notes versus just a red blend that may be on the sweeter side. That's the difference between eating that with sushi or a light salmon salad versus maybe eating like a mushroom gnocchi or a pasta dish, maybe like gosh, what is my favorite pasta? Like angel hair, and having like a shrimp vodka dish. So all like just all those things like
Wow.
that resource created that bridge for me. So now I'll do a little bit of research on my own, but just being one of their ambassadors and realizing like, oh, they're not just sending wine to people because they want people to have like drinking problems or anything like that. Like it's really about an experience, about integrating like flavors with your food, and they're doing all the work for you. All you
That's
gotta do
so
is order it.
cool.
And I'm like, yay. That's it for me.
So
So
as an ambassador, do you have like an affiliate link or anything? Because
I
definitely wanna check it
do.
out. Okay.
Yeah. So it's
So we'll share
currently in my Instagram link. And so
okay.
I think right now, if you use my affiliate link, you can get like 40% off.
Ooh.
So I think that's like 4 bottles of wine, 4 or 5, maybe for like $40 plus shipping, maybe,
Wow, that's
which
good.
is a pretty good deal if you do it right. So I will say on their website, like some bottles of wine are 50, some are, gosh, like 14.99. And if you get the subscription, like you're getting a huge discount on those. And I will so widely say I got mine for free. So of course I love it and I love the program. It
And
you
the
know
fact
it
that they give you the information, that's so cool.
yeah. So the buy-in for me is obviously amazing, but then also like I'm getting the free food with the free wine. So now I'm really like those two worlds are kind of like marrying at no cost to me, although like I am working to create content for them. So,
Mm.
but like, and I will say like Wink always looking for ambassadors. So if you have an Instagram presence and that's something you're passionate about, like you can partner with them. So I would encourage people to like open that door to that link, reach out to them, communicate with them. They have ambassador programs for people with over 7,000 followers and people under 7,000 followers. So there's really a lot of opportunity there.
There is, and speaking of opportunity, that's a great segue in content. I mean, your content is phenomenal. And for someone like just starting to look at your page, it could be intimidating because your pictures are
Oh,
so detailed, robust. So how did you learn? Like, did you take a course? Did you do, or you self-learn? Like, how did you become so proficient in your photos and the layout of your content?
yeah. Lisa, I will tell you, I have not taken a class. I have not, I mean, I have an iPhone and that's it. Truly, um I'm a very just artistic person and I
Mhm.
think that has a lot to do with it. And I for a really long time had to kind of deal with myself in that area because I have friends that work in the medical fields, friends that are going to be doctors. They're making a lot of money right now. And I was like, well, what if I do this? What if I do that? What if I do this? And I think sometimes God's like, this is your natural talent.
Mhm.
This is what you need to lean into. And so I really do just see things. Like if I'm somewhere and there's like a flower and there's like a straw or something in a cup, I'm like, oh, take the straw, put it on top of the cup, turn it, move the flowers closer, blur out the flowers, put the cut like it just there's just such a
It's fun to
natural
watch.
like yeah, like look with
Wow.
natural lighting and colors and creating like different textures and like you don't want everything to be the same texture. You want there to be levels. Like
Oh, I love that. So textures,
yeah.
and when you say textures, are you saying like having the flour and then you have something liquid next to it or something?
Yes. So like, gosh. So my kitchen table is wood, which I think people can see a little bit of it, but like a white plate on top of wood instead of using like a wood charcuterie board directly on top of wood.
Oh, because that's
So
wood
like,
on wood. I didn't think about
right.
that.
So breaking up the space, like bringing brightness and colors. If you're having darker, environments, using white plates or using like cream, depending on the color of the food, maybe using the complementary color on a plate than the food would be. So like a pasta dish, maybe on like a lighter green dish or one that has like green accents in it, and that's like like things that
Yeah.
people's eyes are naturally drawn to, or a pasta dish on a white dish, but then adding that greenery in because then
Wow.
you're getting the complementary colors. So that like really that's just me like and I actually during COVID I was like I started to love taking like food pictures at home because I had so much control of the environment
I love your smoothie
versus
bowls. I saw that you were doing smoothie bowls, and I was like, the
yeah,
picture
those are my
is so
favorite.
vibrant. I felt like I can just eat it right off of the page. I'm like,
Yes, that's
like,
what we want.
now
Yeah.
that you're saying that, I can see how you did different textures, even with the
Yes,
food.
yes. And just adding levels, like even the same colors, like I didn't do all strawberries, like adding a cranberry, adding a cherry, things different sizes, different shapes, all of those things, like they kind of like integrate themselves, so that makes sense. It kind of it all works together.
Oh, that's
So
really cool. And this is something that just it's your passion. You did it, and then the more you do it, of course, you've just been phenomenal.
yeah, I mean, I feel the same way about clothes. Like, I have friends that are like, those two things don't go together. And I'm like, but they do. And it look like you can't see it or it looks weird, but I'm like, you can wear
Yeah.
four different browns and still wear them together. And like, it's all about like how your textures are, how your patterns are, your colors. Do you have natural lighting? Like what's the focal point? Like putting everybody's attention in one area, moving the eye around. And one thing I will say I learned is a lot of people will say, not symmetrical. So you don't want like two cups just next to each other. You always want them like slightly angled, one a little closer, one further away. You don't want the space between them to be even. Like that's actually exactly what you don't want. If you have two people sitting next to each other and they're hosting a show, if one chair is like this, another chair needs to be like this,
Okay.
like
Okay.
angled. So like symmetry is actually not good when it comes to a lot of
Really? That's
pictures.
not in,
Yeah.
huh?
So I like just learned that. A lot of my pictures at the beginning you will see are very symmetrical, but just like taking one plate and turning it at an angle and almost creating like a direction point versus just laying them all kind of in a row. Like all those like neat
Something
little
so
tricks.
simple by moving it. That's really
Yes. Yes.
powerful.
Small
So
changes.
And I know your pictures are beautiful. So from that, how did you start engaging people? Would you ask, have like a call to action with your copy? Because even the things you write are so profound.
Oh, thank you. You know what? So, being a journalism major, I think the writing thing just, I will say that was really tailored in college. I had
Mhm.
a professor just take a red marker, write it through a paper, and
Mhm.
say, I don't know what I just read, or this doesn't sound realistic, or, like this is
Yeah.
not believable.
Yes.
Um, and I don't know, like, after years and years of doing that and getting those responses, you really cultivate your writing skills, especially
Very
as a
much.
journalism major. So I will say I think college was extremely helpful to that. But as for engagement, I think God really had to be involved because it really took off at the beginning. And there's such supportive communities here in Cincinnati. I will say there's a Cincinnati bloggers page, as well as a Cincy Cocoa bloggers page. So Black bloggers, like Black women bloggers in the Cincinnati area.
Nice.
And so once you kind of like get your presence online, you're really welcomed into those groups. People are looking out for your posts. Like Rebecca, who runs it, she's just so wonderful and so engaging. And then the food world on Instagram, you're not going to go to like any food page on Instagram and see like no commentary and no likes. I mean, there's like this natural gravity for people wanting to engage, ask questions, like even like in the DMs, like, hey, like, where was this place? I want to go, etc.
Cool.
And it kind of just happened. And every now and then I'll ask a question. I've noticed lately some people like my personal people really read and answer the call to action. My outside audience or like the acquaintances of the food world, they're kind of just, oh my gosh, that looks so
They just like
good.
the picture. They love the picture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I wish I could be there. Especially people that are like out of state, they're like, oh dang, like I wish I lived there, like give that to me. Those really like fun general engagement pieces. But I will say the more local community as well as those in like my personal circle are really reading and engaging and are like, oh my gosh, what flavor of this? Or Cajun what? Or da 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 da.
Yeah.
So I think it's just for me, I just like to be thorough. Like
Nice.
I don't want people going to my page and then going to a restaurant and being like, well, what is this? Like, I try and be as specific as I can. So I'm like, hey, this is the mushroom risotto from X, Y, and Z. If I know what's in it, I will try and write about it. If I know what
Mhm.
flavors pop out to me, I will attempt to write that. I'm not as good as it as I used to be because the traffic coming in of content that I'm pushing out is a lot heavier
Oh, wow.
than I was in the beginning. But I try and just, I think people want to authentically engage with people that are delivering information to them that is readily available to them.
And yeah, exactly, and
Yeah.
valuable, which I can totally see the value you add, and especially for the people in the local area of where you are. Because I saw one post you had with the Igloo. Was that a restaurant? That was so
Yeah. No,
cool.
so I have been so blessed to partner with Newport on the Levee, which is in northern Kentucky, which is, I mean, right across the way. And they have like an outdoor park area that has like eateries, bubble tea, bars, and exchange market. And so during the winter months, especially in the Midwest here, igloos are a huge deal. Like they are everywhere. Like you're not going to go one place and have an igloo. You can go multiple places, go to igloos. But they reached out to me and they were like, "Hey, we want you to advertise for us, and we're going to give you the $200 stipend plus gratuity to have the igloo. Bring your friends, have a good time, post about it."
Wow, so you're creating opportunities just by partnership.
Yeah.
And to your point, this is someone who reached out to you after they saw
Yes.
the phenomenal thing on your page.
Yes.
Well, congratulations.
Thanks.
So exciting. And it's also a testament to just live your passion. I know earlier we were talking, you're like, just take control of your destiny and having the things that you love and doing it. And I know you equate a lot of it just to your faith and stuff will just
Absolutely.
align the way it's supposed to.
Absolutely.
That is
Absolutely.
so cool. I mean, I was like, wow. Now, do you have any particular things that you like to specialize in for food? Are you kind of like whatever is hot or whatever is the topic of the day?
I used to be really strict because I do not eat meat, but
Mm,
I realized as I went to more food events where I would bring friends or, just whatever, like those people were ordering meat. And
mm.
so I'm kind of like, wait, why am I not taking some of these opportunities? Like, I don't have to necessarily eat the whole thing or eat it to tell you guys about a new spot, especially if it's local.
Yeah.
And I have recently partnered with the local Chick-fil-A
Wow.
where they brought food to, or gave me food, catering food, and included nuggets. And so when I was first doing it, I would not have advertised that. But now I'm like, wait, like, if
Don't
I were
limit
to order,
yourself.
yeah, like if I were to cater Chick-fil-A, I would in fact cater the nuggets because I do have friends that are meat eaters. So I want to make sure that my followers know that that's something available that they can order and they can pair with a veggie wrap and they can pair with the brownies and cookies, or you can order mac and cheese. And I try and taste everything. I will say, I think a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, you're eating all of that and then advertising it. I'm usually tasting a little bit of everything. If I
Nibbling
love
a little bit.
something, yeah, I will eat all of it, but it's very Food Network style for me. I'm
Uh,
like, eat a little bit, eat a little bit, eat a little bit, eat a little
I
bit.
like when you
So,
said that because when I watch those shows, I'm like, man, they must be stuffed. But to your point, they're probably taking because I love
yes.
Master Chef or Master.
Yes, yes. But exactly like that. Like you're kind of just like tasting and you're
Yeah,
like, okay, am I gonna come back to that? Like, or am I going here? Like I'm just trying to like see what
yeah.
I like and what I don't like. So nowadays I'm not as picky. I will say you probably won't see me like advertising like a brisket or a ribeye, stuff like that.
Eggs or something.
Yeah, but I try and just specialize in doing local things that are extremely obtainable for people,
Yeah,
things that are actually cost effective. Because
that's a
sometimes I'm like, okay, I got this free meal, but the cost is $65 to $150. How many people does this actually feed? Does the price end up being home delivered? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's the breakdown? And does it make sense to advertise it? So, like with the igloo, it's $200 on a weekend night, but you can have up to 8 people.
oh,
So
okay.
I'm
That's
like, okay, that's about like what, $40 each? I don't know if I did that math right. $40 each, but I'm like, okay, that's actually feasible for people my age looking for something fun to do. They offer drinks, food, like they have games, they have music, you're outside, but you're inside, you're social distance. Like this is a realistic thing that you
yeah.
could actually do. And then last, but really should have been first, I just try and make sure it aligns with my values and my faith.
Mm,
um Especially like knowing that like, oh, I'm 26, but like, hey, you're advertising an adult beverage, like what is that company's values, how do they see it? And I will like really read through some of these contracts, and a lot of them will say like, hey, you cannot promote drunkenness, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool, like I can work with these, like,
yeah.
so working with companies, making sure they align with my values, even local restaurants. Like I sometimes I have to make sure that like, hey, I don't always know what you guys believe or how you orchestrate yourselves or your staff. So like really going and having that experience and being like, okay, you
Mm.
guys align with my ideals and with what's happening. So like,
That is such a powerful thing
yeah.
because when things do align with you, it's just natural, it's effortless, right?
Yes.
But when you're having to, some people get too urgent, too, I guess, I don't want to say desperate, but you're just like, oh, I just want every opportunity I can get. But if it's not a good fit, then it's gonna, like to your point, you talked about
Yes.
it's not gonna
Yes.
come across
And
authentic.
it's okay to say no. Like I have turned
Mhm.
down paid posting gigs because I felt like I was just pushing the envelope a little bit.
Gotcha.
And I just never want to feel like, oh, God's giving you this. And then you're kind of like, but I can make a quick $500. You know what so it's hard to like tailor those things, especially with Instagram. Things can get very, very weird. You have to be careful who you're working with, what they're asking of you. And even in the food world, I think people are like, but you're doing food. I'm like, no, anything. Like it's Instagram. People can put anything on the table, and you just have to be so aware of what you do want to post and what your mission is. And I will say my overall mission is to hopefully bring more business to local businesses, businesses that support what I support, but also businesses that are making a difference. Because sometimes our larger chain organizations are still doing great things. And so, making sure whatever I'm saying is putting your dollar towards a company or business that I actually would support, even if I wasn't doing this.
That is fantastic. No, I love that. And I think it's so important for people to establish that early in their journey of branding their whatever their talent is. So thank you for sharing those gems. And the last thing, I know you love to partake and go out to eat, but what about at home? Are you a really good cook? And what are some of your top favorite things to cook?
I can actually cook, but I try and hide it. Like, I love being the secret chef. There was a time when my dad first originally moved to Florida that I was cooking meals like every night while we were still in Illinois
Oh, wow.
waiting to move. Yeah,
You
and
would
I was
cook for
like,
the family?
yeah, I was cooking
Oh,
for my
wow.
mom, my sister, and my brother.
Oh,
But I got
nice.
so burnt out after that. I was like, it was too much. But like, they had sent me to culinary camps as a child. I have like food has always just like been laced throughout my history, so I can cook. I do enjoy it. I am eating so often now though that I try not to cook for myself in a way where like food is just going bad. Like, there's a really hard balance for me right now where I'm like,
It's hard to cook for like less than if you cook for
yeah,
you cook
yeah.
for like 2 or less. Yeah.
Yeah, so when I cook, I'm really like making eggs and avocado toast or eating like carrots and grapefruit so that I'm still like balancing my health with being able to try everything that I want to try because I don't believe in like cutting myself off.
Fair
Like,
enough, fair
hey,
enough.
yeah, if I want to try
Speaking of
that.
food, do you plate your food really pretty even if you're just cooking at home for
Yeah,
yourself?
I really do. Like, my smoothie bowls are really my pride and joy. I'm like, even if I don't take a picture, I'm like,
Fair.
okay, yeah, this is happening. But I will say my favorite thing to cook lately, especially during this season, is I figured out how to make a vegan shepherd's pie.
Ooh, that sounds good. What
Yes.
type of meat did you I mean, not meat, but I guess meat substitute do you use for that?
Um, One of the like vegan chorizo grounds that you just come frozen, and I kind of cook those up, add some onions, you make the potatoes, you do your vegetables, you mix it all together, and then I put it in these little ramekin dishes and then put a biscuit on top. Oh my gosh.
A vegan biscuit? So wow.
Yeah, so good. You're definitely
Wow.
gonna spend a little bit more money trying to make it vegan or like buying the vegan.
'Cause if you don't use an egg to make it, what is the binding agent for or is there like an egg substitute that's vegan?
I'm gonna tell you, I don't know. I just bought a vegan biscuit.
Fair fair enough. That's even
I
better.
did not make them from scratch, but I think I do know that I think applesauce has been a substitute many a time, especially in cakes. And even, which I'm sure in a biscuit it wouldn't be, but like pumpkin is also a really good like combiner. Like, my favorite cake to make, vegan cake, is a box of spice cake and a can of pumpkin, and you only need two ingredients. That's it. And
And
it'll
I
literally
love
like
both of those things. I bet it's delicious.
so good, and it just bakes, and it's really easy. So
That's good.
being vegan-ish because I cheat a lot is a challenge, but I try when I'm cooking at home. I try and maintain that so that I don't wake up one day and I'm like, I'm 30 pounds heavier because I've been food blogging. So that there's some type of balance in there somewhere.
I bet because I'm sure people are literally throwing food at you from all directions, like, try this, try this, try that, try
Oh
this.
my God. Yeah. Especially during the holidays, it's been a little intense this time, especially with COVID. I think people are just trying to get their advertising out there. They want people to cater in their food, order their food, bring it for
Yeah.
their family. And a lot of people are just eating at home and keeping it small this year. So I think people have just been like reaching, and I'm like, well, this is great for me, but my genes.
Oh, that's funny. And I love that you really have that local spin, that you're really supporting local businesses because all of us, it doesn't matter where you live, we are not immune to how many local businesses are suffering because of, the different restrictions that were on restaurants. So kudos to you for that. And man, I know I've just enjoyed just learning a little bit more about your creativity and all the great things you're doing. What's like a last parting tip that you would want to give to our listeners if they're just don't know where to start or they're really excited, or what would you say is the one golden piece of advice?
I am so glad you asked that. Honestly, it is just do it. I think my first picture has like 40 likes. It is not the best picture I've ever taken. And I just truly believe that faith without works is dead. And that's something that my dad really implanted is, God will water your garden, but he won't put you there, and
Mm,
perfection really slows us down and it's really just it like disables us from like being in purpose. So just get started. You will improve over time. And if you're in purpose and it's meant to be, you will naturally run into people that will either teach you things, help you grow. You will learn things on your own. You will, come across more resources. Like there's such a beauty in naturally just getting started.
agree.
And yeah, and that's in anything, whether that's like blogging, whether it's food, whether it's Instagram, whether it's like your exercise routine. Like I think
Wow.
there's just a sense of fear that we're like, what do we do? How do we get started? It's like just do it. The
Just do
littlest thing, yeah, the littlest thing makes a difference, and it just builds up over time. So if anybody ever had questions or you guys saw me on here, please feel free to reach out.
it.
I like support you. Just do it. I've had people message me and ask how they should reach out to businesses, what businesses they should reach out to, and whatnot. And I'm really cultivating like my content creator side of myself right now. So get started and ask questions. Ask for help from people that you think may not help you because they probably will. So that's
You
probably it.
never know until you ask. Well, Kate, I tell you, thank you so much. And we didn't mention this that not only do we, I just absolutely adore and love you, but we are also sorority sisters. So, yeah,
Yes,
we
yes, I did that. I did
sorority
that. Listen, you may not want to advertise that to I haven't.
always. Anyways,
I'm
thank
like, me and my money are
well, I say thank you for the gems. Thank you. I am
yeah.
so proud of you. You're such an inspiration.
Oh,
Your site,
thanks.
it's on the screen, so please, everyone, check her out on IG, and you're on Facebook as well too.
I am. I just put Kate's Cravings on Facebook so I could reach additional
Yeah.
audiences as someone has counseled me. So
Wow. And you're
probably haven't been as diligent as I could be with it, but I am on there.
well, and if you don't have IG or Facebook, you can definitely check out her website
Yeah.
because she does some blogging. Your writing is phenomenal. So keep making a difference with the kids and with the world with your
Thank
food.
you.
Thank you again for your time and sharing your talents. And thank you all for listening to another edition of Speaker Circle. Let's continue to grow together.